All right. What is a work day like for you? Tell us about what you do.
Well, my role is the healthcare specialist. I come in at 6:30 in the morning, and most of my guys are either up or getting up. My other coworker and I assist them with their daily routines, getting ready for work. Sometimes we have to remind them that they need to shower or change their clothes because they may have been wearing something from the previous day. We give out their medication. About half of our consumers, 5 of the 10 people, are self-med, which means they administer their own meds in their room. And the rest of them come into our medication office, and we partake in giving them the medication. And then once everybody's gone for the day, that hits usually about 8:30. We are in charge of calling all the doctor's offices, making sure there's medication in the house twice a week. We count all the medication in the house and make sure that the nursing staff doesn't have a lot of follow-up on there, usually 1 or 2 days a week.
What made you want to work with people who have disabilities?
I've always had a passion for it growing up. I've worked many other jobs in my lifetime, in my old age of 26. I've worked retail, I was a manager at a store, and none of it has ever grasped me. I feel like I make a difference in these people's lives, whether they admit it or not. Some of the people have given me great feedback, and I think it's something that I do pretty well.
What kind of disabilities do people living in the group have?
In my group home, one person is on the autism spectrum. We've got cerebral palsy. We've got a lot of MR, which the current diagnosis is mental retardation. It's going to be changed to intellectually disabled once the DSM changes over. And then we have a couple of psychiatric disorders, personality disorders, bipolar, anxiety disorder, and things like that.
So has anyone ever made fun, stared, or treated them differently when you went out with them into the community?
I haven't personally had any terrible situations out in the community. We've had a few doctors' offices tell us straight out that they're going to make our consumers wait for an appointment because they're disabled and don't have to get anywhere, and they have other clients who do need to get to work and such. And when that's happened once, and we switched doctors right away. Because it doesn't matter whether you're disabled or not. If you have an appointment, you should be able to keep your appointment.
Yeah. What would you do if people started making fun of them? Or
as my role in the group home and being out in the community with the consumers, we try and give our guys as much independence as we can. A lot of our guys will speak up on their own behalf, but if it gets to a certain point, we would probably, I personally would step in and have to either correct the person or call them out on what they're doing. I don't think most people realize they're doing what they're doing, whether it's a glance or a stare. So I think calling attention to it may help squash behaviors like that.
Are the adults in the group home aware of their differences?
Most of them are. We have one of our ladies who introduces herself to people that come into the house as a consumer. We have a doctor who talks to one of our consumers and actually talks to him about his disability on a regular basis. And a lot of the guys, they'll go to psychiatrists and talk about their particular issues. So I think a lot of them are aware of it. The taboo part of it is the mental retardation. Retard is a very frowned upon word at the moment, but because it's still the technical diagnosis in the DSM, which is the psychology diagnosis, a lot of consumers don't like using it.
So, hold on. I'll do next one. Okay. So, to what extent are your residents independent? Or what daily living what daily living tasks do they require assistance with? So, like, yeah.
Well, a lot of our guys, all of our guys are independent in the community. They all have the freedom to go out in the town, or a lot of them take public transportation. A lot of them use the Able Ride system, which is kind of like cab service for people not necessarily only with disabilities, but who have trouble getting around. Elderly people can use it as well. And you call and you make a reservation, and they pick you up and drop you where you need to be. As far as assistance goes in daily skills, it's a lot of the daily living skills that they need assistance on. Whereas they can be very independent of the community and purchasing things on their own behalf, they have, for some reason, trouble getting in the shower every day, whether they don't want to or they don't feel they need to. We have one consumer who would wear the same outfit all week if we didn't prompt him to change his clothes, but he's completely independent of the community. So it's a lot of the daily living skills that a lot of people take for granted that we have to assist them.
Okay, so we just have a few that our teacher suggested we ask. So what makes it difficult for people that want to talk to the adults with disabilities that mean well? What makes it difficult for them to interact?
I think the lack of knowledge in the greater community. I currently am getting my master's in disability studies, and you'd be surprised, even people who work in the industry don't have a complete grasp on people with disabilities. I find that a lot of people talk to the adults as if they're children, and they're not. My guys are all twice the age of me, so that if I were to talk to them like they were a child, they would probably curse me off and tell me to go to hell or something, because they know when they're being talked down to, and like anybody else, they don't want to be. So I think if people going into a situation not knowing how to handle it, they tend to handle it incorrectly.
Are there strategies or suggestions you have that may help people to become more comfortable with those who may seem different?
I think the best advantage that people who are uncomfortable can really gain is either volunteering or just beefing up their education. I learn new things I thought that I was a pro in the field, and now back in school, I am finding out things that I never knew or never considered even. And it's a lot of the kind of stuff that we take for granted that you got to think twice about when you joke around with your friends and use the word retard. And if you were with a consumer, you wouldn't use that word if you were with them. Little things like that you just kind of have to think before you speak.
And lastly, in your opinion, do you think that people just naturally exclude others who are different, or do you think that people are taught to alienate?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that a lot of people are afraid of the unknown, and if they don't understand why someone's different, whether it's visually, whether they're physically disabled or they act different, I think they just naturally shy away from it. But I think it's also a large part of the society right now, and people being different are generally shunned upon. So I think it's a combination of both, the unknown as well as the lack of education from parents, from schools, from teachers, things like that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is great.